We are the oldest gallery in the country of our kind, at least that has been doing business, consistently all the way through those years. The way the story goes is in 1938, Helen Winnemore, who she was a student. She was also an artist and a poet and kind of a student of life in many ways. And she was a woman who was very much ahead of her time. Actually, her sister was as well. Her sister became a doctor at a time when women were teachers or nurses, and if they were wives and mothers, they were only wives and mothers. But Helen was a Quaker, and so many of her Quaker friends were artisans of different sorts. And then people kept hearing, that Helen was interested in this work, and she would invite people over to her home. She had a spare room and spare furniture and chests of drawers and things, and she would tuck away the items from these artist friends and friends of friends, and then she would invite people over to a place she ended up calling the afternoon shop, and it was definitely for ladies who lunched at that time. They'd come over for a couple of hours in the afternoon, and they would go through the drawers in her sitting room. And so that is how she came to do this. And then, word kind of spread that she was doing this, and she ended up with an official storefront not too long after that. But so the history of we actually still have furniture and chests of drawers and jewelry drawers that people go through as a ritual. When she went to an official storefront, people said they really missed going through the drawers, so they built some into place, and we still do that today. I would say that when I first took over the business, it's been 13 and a half years now, that it was familiar friends and old favorites kind of thing, and definitely a generational experience. The grandmothers and now many of the great grandmothers have passed on, and we're going into these pushing up to our 80th year in business. So definitely it was more people who were habitual, and now that enough years have gone by, people have, some people who may have strayed away from us have come back, but we're actually, the last couple of years, we're seeing a younger audience, I think, with the economy and just a greater popular understanding of the value of things that are made close to home has educated the public at large, but definitely some of the younger folks too. So we're seeing more 20s and early 30s now, which is great. We need the granddaughters and the young moms to be coming in too. One of the things that I find to be a compliment is when we have people who come in who maybe shopped at the shop a lot, for years, and then moved away, come back to town, find we're still there, and they'll say, it feels just the same. And it's really about the feeling. Obviously the work has to change, the work has to evolve, but we still carry the same breadth of media as that Helen did. Maybe sometimes it'll wax and wane in different categories, but we have expanded the jewelry a lot. There's that and more accessories, because that seems to speak to a great part of our population. But the continuity of the feeling of the shop and the type of work that we represent is the same, and that seems to be a good thing. When I first bought the business, I was afraid. I didn't want to mess it up, because it was having loved it for so long, it was really perfect in my eyes already. But then as I thought about it and learned more about Helen from her friends who were still, with some contemporaries who were still living, that Helen, she always took chances. She continued to evolve in her buying, and that there was no reason why I shouldn't do the same thing. And so, my experiments have been more bold at times than others, but my husband will tell you, every year I have this way that I go through the show, and I have this moment of, oh, am I getting the right things? Should I get more of this? And I've gotten, just because it's a lot to live up to, and I want to make sure that we're still bringing in things that are useful and purposeful in people's lives. So it took, I don't know, maybe 5 to 7 years before I started understanding what my purpose was in it, and because I've always loved working with the artists, I've always loved the work. I don't know everything there is to know about pottery or jewelry or any of the processes, and when I found out what really felt good to me in the whole process and working with my customers, it was connecting my customers to the work in a way that mattered to them, whether they were communicating a message to someone they were giving a gift to, or it was commemorating a moment that was special to them. You know, once I understood what my purpose was in it, I felt so much more comfortable. And so I would say is that if you know, to reflect a lot about what your position is in your business, what's your real purpose, and what's the best work that you can do, and to really focus on that. And because the thing that I do the best, I think, I mean, after even as hard as it is to say that sometimes, the thing that I think I do the best is when I'm working with one of my customers, really finding out what it is they're trying to communicate, and then if I can help them figure it out and articulate it, and then everything falls into place after that. So really figuring that one little nugget out and letting everything else radiate from there is helpful.